Hey everyone, it's Sammy from Push Square, and I wanted to make one last video in the countdown to E3 2018 and talk about how Sony can win this year's show. Now I'm going to get into my full thoughts and impressions in this video, but before I do, please do remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so E3 2018 is days away and sites are already being selected. I mean, I think the tribal element to gaming's greatest show is tiring and it detracts from the celebratory aspect of the event itself, but there's no getting away from it. A winner's going to be selected in the heat of the moment and a victor's going to emerge from E3 with its collective head held aloft. So what does Sony need to do to take the win? Well, the build-up to PlayStation's press conference has been unprecedented this year. The Japanese giants decided to spread its announcements out, ditching the pre-show format from last time in favour of daily reveals. Now, the company seems to be experimenting, and it's aware that the event itself is changing, and that means it's already telegraphed exactly what we can expect from its briefing next week. Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, and The Last of Us Part 2. It's actually really rare for a company to come out weeks in advance and tell its fanbase the lineup of its showcase, but Sony seems very eager to manage expectations. Last year's show was perfectly adequate, but expectations were through the roof on the back of two of the greatest press conferences ever, and the company clearly wants to avoid a repeat of that backlash. In truth, I don't think it's worked. If you look inside any popular forum, you'll see predictions ranging from Bloodborne 2 all the way through to Siphon Filter, neither of which seem all that likely to me. But can the company realistically win E3 with 4 games that we've seen before? It's perhaps worth keeping in mind that these are likely to be 4 of the biggest exclusives of the generation. I mean, other publishers and platform holders would give their left leg to have 2 of these titles in their showcases, let alone all 4 of them. It's also worth noting that while we already know about the games, only Spider-Man has been shown in detail previously. So yes, assuming the games are actually good, which they're almost certain to be, there's more than enough to carry the weight of an E3 2018 press conference. The crucial part for me will be the presentation itself. Sony's show will be presented in front of a live audience as usual, but it's unclear what kind of style it's going to adopt. With the greatest of respect to all involved, a round table format like PSX with Sid Schumann on a sofa will suck all of the enthusiasm from the room. This still needs to be a major event. In many ways, the Japanese giant is up against the unknown. Microsoft, as is repeated annually, is expected to go all in, and there's no doubt that it's going to have more surprises than PlayStation this year due to the fact that it hasn't held a press conference since E3 2017, while Sony appeared at Paris and it appeared at TGS, and it also did PSX, although it wasn't the usual PSX that we've come to expect. I'm expecting the usual trifecta of Halo, Gears of War and Forza Horizon from Microsoft, but I also think the company is going to try and hand-wave its first-party predicament by literally announcing the formation of new first-party teams. Mainly, I'm anticipating an emphasis on third-party from Xbox though, meaning that the show may make good viewing for PlayStation fans all the same. Cyberpunk 2077 and From Software's new project all look increasingly likely to debut during the Microsoft press conference, and then there's other stuff like Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Anthem that will almost certainly be there as well. There'll be a lot of stuff, but last year Microsoft actually showed over 40 games, and how many of them can you name today? I can't think of many. I think Nintendo, meanwhile, will continue to exist in its own kind of bubble. One of the defining stories I'm expecting to come out of this year's show, and what could potentially put a bruise on Sony's efforts, is Fortnite cross-console play, which is almost inevitable between the Nintendo Switch and Xbox, and is sure to drag up some old complaints. We had the same thing last year with Minecraft, so it'll be interesting to see whether this controversy actually attracts meaningful attention this time around. But fan favourites like Super Smash Bros. Certainly have the potential to swing things in Nintendo's favour, and yet it's hard for me to shake the feeling that it's not really operating in the same cross-section as Sony and Microsoft. The aforementioned game is certain to be superb. I'm sure Smash Brothers is going to be absolutely brilliant, but it's also very different from the likes of, say, The Last of Us Part 2, and it's hard to put it in the same bracket really. Nintendo, as is so often the case, is busy doing its own thing really to me. And that leaves third parties really. It's hard to imagine EA emerging victorious, but a Skate 4 announcement and some good Battlefield 5 and Anthem gameplay could elevate its appearance above insufferable. And then Ubisoft's been reliable in recent years, so a potential Splinter Cell reveal seems very intriguing, while Bethesda and Square Enix have the potential to thrill with fan favourites like Fallout and Final Fantasy respectively. But ultimately, I think it's going to come down to that one surprise. Does Sony have anything to complement its big four? Those gigantic exclusives are, as I've mentioned earlier, more than enough to carry its press conference alone, but can it complement them with, say, a Devil May Cry 5 or a Resident Evil 2 remake or anything else? Has it got that one last thing to sprinkle the icing sugar on top of an already outstanding lineup? We're going to find out in a few days, but let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you think Sony's going to win this year's E3, or do you think it's going to go elsewhere? Do you even care about these kind of competitions that people have on forums over the E3 conferences? Let me know in the comments section below. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching.